In this episode, James. Blooper.
That's the intro.
James, that's it. No, go on. Ready? In this episode, James says Arsenal are better than Spurs.
No, I didn't say that. I said they deserve to win. Calm down.
The Fantasy Football Show.
Hello, listeners. Welcome back to episode 49 of the second season of Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around Fantasy Premier League. My name is Suj.
And I'm James.
And a man-child looks like he's walking around the office, lost.
He's trying to find the 8 points he is behind you, mate.
Oh, yeah. Let's not talk about that. Game week 29 has just finished. We're on to game week 30, 2 weeks away from the blank game week. How you feeling?
Ready.
Just ready.
Like
Primed,
that.
armed, ready to go.
Yeah, feeling a bit better after this week.
Yeah, it was a better week for you. It was a rubbish week for me. So we've had up and down scores this game week. If you look across the board, I think people either did badly or well, and there's a handful of people in the middle. But generally, people are either side of the spectrum.
Yeah, I think it's generally quite a low scoring week again. Only one player of the top 10 most captains scored.
Yeah.
So that's always going to lead to quite a low scoring week.
One out of the top 10 most captains scored. Raul Jimenez?
No, it was Harry Kane.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that's probably quite
Dead
a few
teams.
dead teams, quite possibly. So, yeah, I mean, loads of misses. I think the only other returner in the top 10 was Hazard,
Yeah.
who had an assist at Fulham and a one bonus.
Yeah.
So quite a lot missed.
Yeah. And I mean, your captain did score, Higuain. Which was a very brave and good shout. I don't know if it was brave, it was common sense and logic, really.
To be honest, his return in the end was disappointing. She should have had a hat-trick by half-time.
Yep.
So, but yeah, I did the -4, Alexander-Arnold and Higuain, as I said I would. And with obviously TAA getting top bonus as well, it worked out well.
And your first substitute coming in off the bench for David Luiz? Or that wouldn't work, would it? Because you...
No, I played TAA. So
No, sorry. You had Yotta's first sub, right?
Yeah, but he didn't come in for him.
No, because David Luiz didn't play, and then because you have to have 3 defenders playing.
So I had Pereira's brilliant 0.
Oh.
For the second week in a row, Pereira's brilliant 0.
Yeah,
as
difficult
you
to
kind
take.
of everything. Yes, I left Hotter on the bench. I kind of announced my team quite early on the Friday and said I was going to leave Hotter out, and then there were big rumours Friday night that Nuno Santo was going to make multiple Wolves changes. So I was quite happy to leave it that way and then leave Jimenez in. So win some, you lose some. I can't complain at the game week. Yes, it could have been 65 -4 rather than 57 -4 if I'd have played Hotter instead of Anderson or Salah, as I debated. But no complaints. Clean sheet Fabianski, clean sheet Robertson and TAA, goal Higuain as captain, goal Jimenez. There's a lot of bad stories out there. So game week rank inside the top 400k, up 14k to 56k. I needed a green arrow. I can't complain.
Not a bad week for you at all, really. My story was much worse. I ended up with 38 points, which was very disappointing, to be honest. Could have been very different had Pogba scored the penalty, because I had the armband on Rashford. So that would have been a 10-point swing for me. Well, technically a 12-point swing because of the minus points that Pogba then picked up for missing the penalty. It's a -2 for the penalty miss, wasn't it? So that would have been a 12-point swing. That would have been a 50-point game week. I would have taken that. Having said that, because Pogba and Rashford are so highly owned, the average would have crept up a little bit as well.
Yeah,
but still, I'd be sitting a little prettier. I ended up with all my points coming from my defence and 0 midfield and attacking returns. Robertson and Trent, as many people did. I had returns from Wan-Bissaka, who came in off the bench, and Fabianski. Other than that, 2s and 1s all around, and another captain blank in Marcus Rashford. And he could have scored as well.
It's the first United game neither Rashford or Pogba returned since Solskjaer took over.
Yeah.
Which is obviously part why their ownership is so massive.
Yeah.
To make you feel a bit better, there were a lot of people triple captain Pogba.
I mean, you can have games where players don't return, but when it's a missed penalty like that, and like, a missed chance is a missed chance, Pogba should be scoring that penalty, and it'd be completely different. We'd be saying that Rashford and Pogba have returned in every game that Solskjaer started, rather than that was the first one that they missed. So, you know what? I'm still reasonably happy with my team. I went to watch the game against Newcastle at the weekend. Felipe Anderson will be on a lot of people's thoughts as whether or not it was a good or bad transfer, which when we run down the games, maybe I'll give you more of an insight into. I'm still working towards game week 31, but Alonso and Sane on the bench in the end.
You still got him, haven't you?
I still have Leroy Sane and I still have Alonso. I've dropped now to 700 and something thousand, 728, which is really bad.
Kylie, our friends from the Three Amigos, tentatively suggested perhaps we should have an intervention for you with Sane.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, he didn't come off the bench. What does that mean? He's going to play this week?
No, it does, I don't think it means any different.
Injured, so maybe that increases the chances
De Bruyne's
of him
injury does likely mean Bernardo probably going into a more central area.
So who can come in on the left?
Yes, Leroy Sane could come in. But then he brought Mahrez on Saturday, right?
He did. He did, maybe for balance. I don't know, to be honest with you, who does with Pep's situation. There were some tasty games this weekend. So shall we run down some of the games and then we can get into it? This week we're recording 2 podcasts, so we'll be back on Thursday with a look forward only to the Game Week 30 fixtures. Today we'll touch a little bit on what you should and should not be doing, maybe towards planning for your chips in the intervening. There's a lot of people like me who've rolled a transfer, so have 2 this week. And with the state of my squad, it's so tempting to use the second transfer, but we'll talk a little bit about that, and we're going to store up all of the Twitter questions for Thursday. If we get a little bit of time today, maybe we'll get into a few.
Basically, we were going to do 1 podcast today, and your work plans changed.
My schedule's a mess this week, so it's going to be we're going to be borrowing and stealing time to get 2 podcasts out instead. But I think it works better this week. We've got time, and there's plenty to talk about. Our usual rundown of the games. There's only one place to start because we go in time in alphabetical order. And it was the game that you were at. Spurs 1, Arsenal 1.
It's the first time my heart's gone like that for some time, mate.
Oh, you were worried.
Well, I just slumped in my seat when the penalty was given at the end.
Sure.
You just think you've lost, didn't you, last minute?
Yeah.
The first thing to say is refereeing decisions. I think there were a lot of decisions that impacted both teams negatively. I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of the decisions. Some were right, some were wrong. Did it impact the result? Probably not, but Arsenal deserved to win.
That's well said, and I'm proud of you for coming on and saying that, because
the
stats don't lie, and the performance doesn't lie.
You know me.
Arsenal played better.
I won't bullshit anyone. We were awful.
Well,
I use that word strongly. We were shit.
I wouldn't go as... I personally wouldn't have gone as far as to say you were awful, but they were the better team. I think they just had more desire and hunger and fight to the ball, and the way he set the team up was decent.
I think the thing for me on Spurs, firstly, is the diamond at the moment, which has worked really well, is not working, and it's not a Kane-Son problem. The problem is the area behind them, and we're seriously missing Dele Alli. Because Dele Alli's movement, I've said this so many times on the pod, it's his movement. We're a bit slow and pedestrian without him.
Yeah.
And the space that he makes is a blessing for the other 2 up front. I think as soon as I saw the Arsenal team, I thought, get Son on the left and go up against Mustafi.
Mm-hmm.
Go and challenge him. He did it really late on in the game, and then he took Son off afterwards. All this Son impacting Kane and Kane impacting Son, for me, that's not the problem. I think I'd said on last week's pod, I wanted him to play Son in a wide area and test the fullbacks. I think he should have used Lucas Moura at some point in the game, and he didn't. I've never seen us, never is wrong, I haven't seen us in a long time play a home game like that and have so little control when we'd have gone into the game as favourites to win. And I think that's a lot of credit to Emery and the way he set up tactically, which was obviously brave leaving out Aubameyang. I thought, despite the fact Lacazette missed chances, I thought he was excellent. Mkhitaryan played really well.
Yep.
Iwobi, again, could be a massive threat, but his end product is not enough, but he gives Trippier a torrid time. And actually, the two centre-backs, particularly Koscielny and Socrates, I thought were outstanding.
Is really good. He's really shaping up to be a solid Premier League centre-half. I think Socrates is the one where it's at. Koscielny's still decent, but obviously he's getting on a little bit in age. Mustafi played well, but he's still prone to the odd cock-up or...
Yeah, I mean, he played as a very defensive right-back, as did Monreal generally, and I mean, it's part why Kolasinac was left out. Arsenal did not want to leave themselves in a position where I talked previously about Son when to get in behind the fullbacks. That opportunity was never going to be on the table. All right, it was spot on tactically from Emery, and they can feel very aggrieved that they didn't win the game.
Yeah, I mean, if they had gone on and won the game, it would be 1 point difference between you guys, right? Which would have been really tight. Still 4 point gap, but they've got a couple of tough fixtures, but other than that, they have a very nice run in for
United
Arsenal.
this weekend is their last top
Tough
6
game.
fixture.
Yeah. Whereas you guys are still going to the Etihad, still going to Anfield.
Yeah.
It's going to be very,
But
very
if we win the 5 home games, if you can call them that,
Yeah.
then we should be all right.
Yeah, so from an FPL point of view, anyone from Spurs catching your eye? I thought Danny Rose played really well, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it was
Especially
interesting.
second half when he moved a bit further.
When he went into
forward and
midfield in
central
the last 20 minutes.
he was dribbling with the ball. I suppose he is a wing back that wants to get up and down the line, but I thought Danny Rose played really well.
I think it shows that the fact that he ended up moving Rose into that position highlights the massive problem that Spurs have in central midfield at the moment. Winks and Sissoko have done really well, but need a break. Obviously, Harry Winks was a big miss for us at the weekend. Wanyama is not the player that he was a couple of years ago. And I still think Spurs are really missing Eric Dyer because he just sits in there and doesn't move and allows the others to go and play. And on the counter, we look far more suspect than when Dyer plays. In terms of Spurs investment, don't even look at the moment. Kane certainly is worth looking from 32 onwards.
Yeah, I'm on the Kane 32 onwards.
A lot of people
train.
obviously thinking of coming off Son. 3 blanks in a row. Certainly not coming out of my team though.
He was still an attacking threat in your opinion?
No, very quiet at the weekend, but through no major fault of his own. And the same for Kane. I think the setup was wrong, and I think there's every chance that we'll move away from the diamond. Although Dele Alli is really close, he's back in training. Might be fit for the weekend, which would be a massive difference maker. I just don't see the idea of taking Son out, who can be so explosive, with Southampton away this weekend.
Sure. The difference with Son now, though, is that whereas pre-Christmas, before he went off to the Asia Games, a lot of people built up a lot of value in him if they got him early enough. Right now, people haven't. So if you were going to jump off... See, for me, Spurs are interesting after the Game Week 32 Liverpool game. We still don't know about the double. Then you've got Brighton at home, Huddersfield at home. But that, for me, is Harry Kane time, not necessarily Son time. Or Sun, as everyone seems to be calling him now. Sun. I was listening to... what's his name? Stuart... who was our England left-back? Stuart... Pearce. About a mind blank there. I was thinking Stuart Pearce, and he was just like Sun, the way he was like talking about him, and I was like, when does his name change from Sun to Sun? But apparently it has.
Maybe it's always been Son and we've been saying it wrong.
We're just stupid, yeah. There you go.
Son. So for me, I'm chunky chips, so I'm planning towards 31.
Yeah.
I'm carrying, as it stands now, unless there's an injury, I'm carrying Son through.
Right.
And the reason I'm carrying Son through is kind of what you highlighted. There could be a Game Week 33 fixture, and if that is the case, Spurs will possibly look like they've got the best fixture in 33. I want that player there waiting for that, just in case.
Yeah, for sure. So interesting there. Arsenal, anyone take your fancy? The problem I think with Arsenal now is where originally it was a case of there's only one to go to, who's Aubameyang. There are a few more that have started putting their hand up. Lacazette has always been there, a close second. If our friend Emery is playing an attacking midfielder, Ramsey or Ozil or potentially Mkhitaryan are options, but he's been rotating them.
But you can't be sure. Obviously, they play back in Europe again on Thursday. So they play Thursday, United Sunday, and then Thursday, Europe
and
again.
You
don't know what he's going to do.
Well,
I think Lacazette's still suspended for it, isn't he? So presumably Aubameyang plays both games in Europe. So you think Lacazette definitely plays against United. So does Aubameyang.
Yeah.
I don't think you look at them for that. They obviously don't play 31. we assume 99% they won't have a double now in 32.
Yep.
Yes, they play in 33, but then no, I don't think you can be looking at them. Iwobi is the one that's really frustrating from an FPL perspective, I think, because he really could be something.
Yeah.
But despite all he murdered Trippier, but no end product on it.
Iwobi's been getting the minutes as well, if you look more recently. He's been consistently getting on the pitch and playing. I'm just looking at Iwobi's stats here. He was sub in the last game, but prior to that, he started the 3 previously. And when they only play one of Lacazette or Aubameyang, then Iwobi inevitably does start. And he's cheap, but there's no returns there, is there? Let's be honest. No. I wouldn't mind one of the Spurs attacking 3 in Mkhitaryan, Ozil or Ramsey. And it would be Mkhitaryan or Ramsey.
You mean the Arsenal 3?
Arsenal, sorry. Yeah. Because Ozil's expensive, so I wouldn't really go to Ozil. Mkhitaryan's the one that I would be considering, but I just don't know if he'll get the minutes.
That just doesn't... Investment in Arsenal just doesn't work with those fixtures at the moment.
No, you're right.
Whatever your strategy, it just doesn't work.
Let's move it on. Bournemouth 0, Manchester City 1. That's 2 games for City, against us and against Bournemouth, which are just 1-0. And any people that own City assets generally own attacking assets. Not exciting, is it really, to be scraping through these 1-0s? They're not scraping through. They're creating chances, but they're not converting them.
I think the flip side on City here is obviously how well defensively. I mean, to go to Bournemouth, obviously set up in basically a 5-4-1. Bournemouth never had a shot on goal, never even had a shot blocked, target, never had a corner, nothing. 18% possession. And that's full credit to City, because you know that what Bournemouth can do on the counter. Obviously, that was the design, was to sit in and try and catch them, and never caught City in any position at any time to cause problems. De Bruyne injured again.
Yeah,
is a blow, and I think on a
so
serious,
a few weeks.
I think it probably does mean the 2 Silvers playing together. Probably, I assume, behind Aguero at the weekend. And yes, it might actually ironically bring Sane back into it. And I think now you probably have to keep him this weekend.
Yeah, I am keeping him this weekend. I'm keeping him through. My plan was always to keep him through till 31. So I'm going to keep him. There were 2 other transfers that I have earmarked. One was Isaac's success to Josh King. Isaac's success to Jamie Vardy, and downgrading Sane to David Brooks. Those are the 2 that are going to get me through 31 and 33. And those are still in my mind as the 2 transfers that I'll probably make. So Sane can ride that 1 more week. Next week after 31, for 31, he will be moving on.
I think for those working towards 32, I think you're in a stage now where if you haven't already gambled on City, you probably do. Yeah. And you're obviously hoping they beat Swansea and then end up with the unbelievable double in 32 of Fulham away and Cardiff at home. I'll obviously free hit for that. My thoughts at this stage would be Ederson, Aguero +1. I'd probably captain Aguero in the week. I'd go Ederson because I know he's going to play the 2 fucking games and I can't bear that bollocks with City. Yeah. And then it's just a case of probably what's available fund-wise in terms of who the third would be.
I mean,
ideally it would be Sterling.
From 7.5 to 11.5 in terms of you've got the full spectrum of prices, right? So just pick which one.
It might be that in the double game week you'd feel safer with Bernardo. What would help on that as well is obviously if they got through and had the semi-final, say against Millwall. Yeah. And you think, okay, well he'll rotate players, even though it's a semi-final. He'll rotate players for that and go full strength in the league. Now they're ahead. You can't really see too much rotation for them at the moment. No. Even in that week, I think with assuming it is Fulham and Cardiff, they've got to pick relatively strong sides, haven't they? Yeah. Aguero looks safe at the moment. So if you're on that strategy.
You've been anti-Bournemouth for a while.
I ain't anymore.
But now that their fixtures are turning, they have got a run and a half. David Brooks is fit. Callum Wilson is fit and in training, but he obviously didn't play. And I've still got Josh King in my squad. So I'm going to sit with Josh King for another week or 2. I'd always move from Callum Wilson to Josh King with a view that I'm happy to move straight back when Callum Wilson's fit again. But Josh King's equally there in terms of points with Callum Wilson this season. He's just hasn't scored as much. Yeah, and Wilson has missed a few games. So the points per minutes, I'm sure Wilson beats King. But I'm happy with King at the moment and Brooks potentially. And they have a nice run now. Anyone else from Bournemouth other than the obvious ones?
Yeah, even the defensively. we spoke about this game week 30 swing for weeks, saying it's the move from Wolves to Bournemouth and do it now. Obviously, Wolves go to Chelsea blank 31 and Bournemouth go to Huddersfield this week before playing at home in 31 and 33. I think there are 7 or 8 you could consider from Bournemouth.
Yeah.
I won't be going in this week. And the reason I won't be going in this week is unless there's injuries, at the moment, I'm going to leave all 3 of my Wolves players on the bench this weekend, which is a gamble in itself. But then I might as well roll. And then my intention is to get 2 or 3 in on 31 once I've got a little bit more.
So you're going to
information.
take a hit next week, possibly.
Yeah, because if I take out the 3 Wolves players, which
Sure.
is what I've said, I mean, just in appearances on 31, I'm gonna make the hits back if I make the right selections. So forefront of my mind is Brooks or Fraser.
So you're rolling this week, and you're going to see what happens next week.
Yeah,
Barring any injury news,
I think
obviously.
I'm very likely to go Brooks or Fraser, Wilson or King, and this is on 31. At the moment, my thoughts for replacement for Johnny, because that'll actually give me a little bit more money. I might just go Rudiger and go, because I'm going to end up with 5 at the back. So if I'm going to go 5 at the back, the way I'm carrying
heavy.
Pogba, Rashford, Son, yeah, fuck it. I'll go double Liverpool, double Chelsea. It will slap me in the face or it won't.
Brighton 1, Huddersfield 0. A late winner for Brighton. People
Big
were talking
result.
about triple captaining Glenn Murray if Brighton ended up with a double triple game week. He didn't have a very good game, really.
Well, FPL Seagull said when Andone come on, it made a bit of a difference.
So maybe Andone's the one that's the triple captain opportunity for a lot of people.
Look, we do still think, obviously, yeah, Brighton and Cardiff could go into a random week, probably most likely 36 or 37. My instinct is not to be holding the triple captain for that.
No. Dunk or Duffy, any of those? I mentioned them because Duffy picked up maximum bonus points with the clean sheet win, but Brighton's fixtures are not.
They go to Palace this weekend, which is the lunchtime game, I think, isn't it, on the Saturday?
Yes, it is.
And they hate each other for no reason that anybody knows other than Palace and Brighton fans. But they detest each other. It's the big game for both of them. So I don't know if you'd be starting Brighton assets this weekend if you've got Duffy, Dunk, Matt Ryan. They're the safe ones to go for, aren't they? The thing is, he rotates so much in attacking areas now. You don't have Knockouts playing March. Izquierdo's fit again now.
Yeah.
They obviously don't play in 31. The potential double in 32 is probably not going to look the best if you're planning that way. But at least you'll know you're going to have it. That's a certainty for Brighton almost that they will have a double in 32.
Yeah.
Although the second fixture is likely to be Chelsea away.
Sure.
So, but no, not looking. Just a quick note on Huddersfield. Jason Puncheon.
Quick as quick can be.
Yeah,
there's literally nothing to talk about.
No, Jason Puncheon will be in quite a few teams as the budget midfielder, as the filler for game week 31.
Yeah.
He's apparently had a bust up with the manager.
Oh, no.
So you might need to look away from that.
Yeah, so there you go. Breaking news.
No, it was Friday's news or something,
Yeah.
I think. But yeah, a lot of people obviously went in down that route at like 4.2. So you might need to look away. But wait and see what happens on the weekend. Wouldn't make that change till 31.
Yeah, I mean, people make up just as quickly as football's a fickle old world.
Yeah, it
so
can be.
they'll make up just as quickly.
Well, look at Kepa was obviously back in the team for Chelsea, wasn't he? So.
Burnley 1, Palace 3. I didn't really see this result coming. I thought Burnley would give them a bit of a tougher game. But a few takeaways from this game. One, last man standing, you beat me. So that's one point back because Chris Wood didn't get me any returns.
Who did I pick, Suj?
You picked some guy who plays for the Hornets, who's a knobhead. Troy Deeney beat Chris Wood this week. But if I was an FPL player, I'd pick Chris Wood over Troy Deeney any day of the week.
Troy Deeney's one of the in-form players
Troy
in FPL
Deeney,
at the
if you're
moment.
watching, Chris Wood's better looking than you as well. So there you go. Get the boot in. There was a few takeaways from here. I'm interested in your thoughts on all of them. Manchild, who is now 8 points behind me only, is closing the gap. Made a very interesting comment earlier. He said, DJ Tim Westwood has been tearing it up on Radio 1 for all these years. It was obvious that Westwood was a good pick in FPL.
Ashley.
That goes to show how he has picked his team. However, Ashley Westwood is a very good pick. No, obviously popped up with an assist again. Is a very good budget option in my opinion, as are the two strikers at Burnley still, despite this result. But really, Zaha, 5 goals in the last 6, 4 returns
Very quietly.
in the last 6. He's stung a lot of people this season. That's why I think people are a little bit offish with him.
It's also the no 31, and you don't know if they're going to have a double in 32.
Batshuayi playing and coming in, and obviously Batshuayi scoring as well, doing what our friend Ben Teke has not been able to do all season.
It's a good finish as well.
Suddenly, like Zaha's perked up, and I think he should be on more radars than he potentially is. They have Brighton at home, followed by Huddersfield at home, and then I understand Newcastle away. Then they've got a bit of a tough run, but they've still got Cardiff away, Bournemouth at home, Everton at home.
I think
It wouldn't surprise me 4 of those home fixtures if Wilf Zaha returned.
they're one, if you're looking for balance and you haven't got your wild card or your free hit, you might look at it and go, okay, next 2 fixtures that are scheduled are, yes, Brighton at home, Huddersfield at home. Can someone like Zaha and people like Wan-Bissaka, can they carry you through? Yes, possibly. I think the problem with that is you don't know. You don't have to play in 33 or not.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you knew they were going to play 33, like, you know, with Arsenal, for example, you'd feel a little better with it.
Yeah.
So I can't see people investing in Palace.
No.
But Zaha is in good form.
He's not in my up to game week 31 plan. I haven't made my 32 with a free hit plan, but I will have a transfer going into 33, so that may be the move then. Especially if Rashford goes off the ball a little bit, which we'll talk about when we talk about Manchester United. I think this season I've stayed with players too long, and I might be thinking, you know what, when they have a couple of blanks, it's time to move on to the next thing a little bit quicker. And Rashford to Zaha is there in the back of my mind, potentially. And that's a nice link into Manchester United 3, Southampton 2.
Just quickly on Ashley Barnes, only Aguero has scored more than him this calendar year in the Premier League.
Yeah, and Barnes is a good option. You could just as easily go with Barnes or Wood. They're both as likely to score as each other, in my opinion. It's a good budget option.
Yeah, they both are.
We've said it again previously, and we'll say it again. When you've got him, you feel compelled to play him.
And it's Liverpool away this weekend.
Yeah, so not right this second.
No.
My brother, I'm going to call him out on the show, as I do, because he doesn't listen. We have season tickets at West Ham, and he phoned me on Friday to say, can you get rid of my ticket? Was someone who want it? I was like, well, yeah, or not, whatever. I go, why can't you come? He goes, I've got a ticket to United at Old Trafford with my mate Pete, so I'm going to go up there. I was like, so you're going to give up watching your own side to go and watch another side? And he's like, yeah. I was like, I don't know, couldn't do that personally. You?
Is that a serious question?
A guy that's not missed a home game since he was 6. Yeah, fine.
I wouldn't miss Spurs at home to Torquay in the third round of League Cup for El Clasico, mate.
So I've been educating my boys that it's ridiculous. So one of them phoned my brother up and goes, "You're going to watch a different team. You're ridiculous." To my brother. So he went to the United game. He saw some cracking goals.
Apparently it was a great game, yeah.
Yeah, it was a good game, and there were some cracking goals. He came around on Sunday morning and he told me it was a really good game. But which was your favourite goal?
It's got to be JWP's, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I do like a little bit of James Ward-Prowse. I may even, instead of Brooksy, go to James Ward-Prowse, just out of sentimentality.
And the fact that they don't have a 31 fixture, does that help?
No, well, whether or not I do that, what game week I make that move, I feel like I want James Ward-Prowse back in my squad. Their fixtures are
He's doing well, Ward-Prowse.
Not ideal. They've obviously got Spurs and then Liverpool in a couple of game weeks' time, but after that, till the run-in.
That's what I've said.
I'm all over James
for those
Ward-Prowse.
on the 34 wild card, I think, yeah.
James Ward-Prowse,
there's a couple.
potentially.
You got Valerie and Bednarek are very cheap as well.
Valerie bombing forward.
The goalkeeper issues are problems. The Guns now played the last 3. We don't really know if that's going to change back again, and they're avoidable ones. I think if you're planning to 32, and the Southampton could have a double. We think they probably won't, but they could have a double. They're avoidable. Gunn, McCarthy, because I think that could just quickly change again. So Bednarek, Valerie looks safe. Ward-Prowse, good budget option. Redmond, good budget option. Bertrand back makes them a better side, in my opinion, but probably you'd go for one of the cheaper ones, definitely.
Yeah. Manchester United. So Romelu Lukaku is at 10.7 million. I spoke to a friend of mine this morning who captained Romelu Lukaku this weekend.
Really?
So he was pretty happy with that.
4 goals in 4 days.
Yeah. 2 braces in a row. I think I don't like United with Sanchez and Lukaku in the starting lineup. It's just not the same.
With
team.
Sanchez might have ligament damage.
Yeah, he hobbled off, not looking very happy at all. But then who am I to say I don't like Lukaku and Rashford together up front when Lukaku's banged in 4 goals in the last 2 games? If you listen to his post-match interview, he seemed very upbeat, very hungry. He said he liked the atmosphere. He liked proving that everyone's out to prove what they can do. Lukaku as an alternative is interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously this weekend they go to Arsenal after the PSG game. I think we can probably assume that they'll probably play Lukaku and Rashford in these wide forward positions again and try and get, if they'll hope Lingard's fit, or they might even play Pogba in that position and go with a diamond against Arsenal, I would have thought. While Lukaku's scoring goals, Solskjaer doesn't strike me as the type of guy who's going to take him out. He's
No,
gonna go,
I agree
you're
with you.
scoring, you're going to play.
Correct.
He has lost weight,
Yeah.
definitely, since Mourinho's gone. 10.7, is it a thing? It's not in my thoughts.
I'm obviously in a very different position to you. There's plenty of listeners that are in my shoes, not your shoes, around a few hundred thousands. Let's call it around either side of the 500,000 mark, and we do need potential differentials. And in my mind, Lukaku is comparable to Aubameyang as an option at that point. If you're going to have Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and you fancy a little bit of fun between now and the end of the season, why not Lukaku?
Well, the benefit with them is you do know the 32 doubles there, if you're on that route.
And the 35 double.
Watford at home, Wolves away, and yes, so if you're struggling with your free hit bench boost, my concern with that would be, I think Lukaku is not in their strongest 11 for me. I still think he would prefer to go with Martial to the left, Lingard to the right, behind Rashford, with Pogba being allowed to go on. But it's all a bit, obviously with Matic injured at the moment, there's lots of question marks there. Notably, Pogba was back to the left of the midfield 3, but didn't get in advanced positions as he has been in the previous months, partly because it probably a little bit conscious of Pereira and McTominay, and not lack of ability is harsh, but just the protection's not quite as solid as Matic won't move, for example. So probably played within himself a little bit. But I think, say, for most of us who've got, say, Pogba and Rashford, they'll be a threat at Arsenal this weekend.
They've scored 3 goals again. I mean, they're scoring goals freely at the moment. Since the start of the season, since the start of the calendar year, or since, I can't remember whether it's the calendar year or since Solskjaer's took over. I'm sure this was a match of the day stat. They've scored 5 points more than both Liverpool and City. So they're in banging form. I'm a United fan at the moment from an FPL
So's your
point
brother.
of view. Yeah, apparently so. There's only one real United and all that. So yeah, I'm a fan from an FPL point of view. Luke Shaw again in my squad at 4.9. Happy to keep him in there, even though they conceded goals.
He's one booking from a ban now.
Yeah, that's the only thing that's concerning me right
Luke
now.
Shaw at Arsenal this weekend, a yellow card would mean he misses both games in game week 32.
Doesn't matter for me because I'm free hitting, so I can just get rid.
A lot of people assumed he'll miss the cup games. My understanding is the ruling changed this season, so the bookings in the league only count to suspensions in the league.
Yeah.
So obviously with no 31 fixture, were he to be booked in 30,
Yeah.
he will miss both games in 32, which would be, if you're on that path, would be a massive blow. It doesn't matter so much for you because you're going to free hit that game week, right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
So, but I think for others on that route through, you need fingers crossed for this, because that's a problem you don't want to have to sort out.
No, definitely not. Wolves 2, Cardiff 0, predictable. We thought Wolves would win. Wolves fixtures do take a turn for the worse now. And I know it really hurt you to leave Jota and Johnny on the bench against Cardiff, and it did. I don't want to rub salt into.
I'm the only person who's ever thought this, but this would have been the all-out attack chip weekend for me.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Or, I mean, you could have bench boosted and you'd have happily taken what you had on your bench this week.
Nah.
No?
What, 11 points?
Johnny came in, did he?
Johnny didn't play.
Oh, Johnny didn't play.
And obviously David Luiz didn't play.
No.
So the only points on my bench were Hotter.
Oh, okay, fair play.
So, no. A few people
Doherty was,
messaged me and went bench boost. No, don't be silly.
Doherty didn't start either.
They made mass changes.
My transfer last week was Doherty to Trent, so I'm sitting happy with that move because that's a plus. However many.
Patricio didn't play. Moutinho, Neves didn't
and they
play.
still won 2-0. So I don't know what that says for Cardiff.
The first goal was a brilliant goal.
Yeah,
love that.
Yeah.
Brilliant goal. They won comfy. I think the notables on this is. You're quite right in terms of what you're saying in terms of the fixture swing for Wolves now. Bournemouth is if you're on the 31 plan, is the easy moves in my opinion. Patricio particularly looks like a problem now because I don't know if Ruddy therefore plays again this weekend. And also, I'm not a big fan of Patricio, but Ruddy's a poor goalkeeper. And that will affect them defensively if he's going to play at Chelsea, even if they go back with Doherty and Johnny. Ryan Bennett's got a suspension now, gone to 10 yellows. So he's going to miss the Chelsea game and the first part of the double game week. Another annoying problem if you're on that route. And on Cardiff, nothing to say other than Sol Bamba season might be over, which is bad news, A, for Planet FPL Wifey, and B, bad news for Cardiff generally.
It's bad news for Manchild as well.
Has he got him as well?
He only had... Well, I think he subbed him out now.
Did you, mate?
Is he out, Manchild?
Sol Bamba. Oh, you already got rid of him?
He only had Bamba because he sounds like Bamba Clap, probably.
He's a fucking genius,
yeah,
isn't he?
Exactly.
Yeah, Cardiff, poor, mate. Poor.
Yeah, very poor.
I can't see them staying up, I'm afraid.
No. West Ham 2, Newcastle 0. Evening kickoff. Nice game. Did you watch on the telly?
Yeah, fell asleep.
Yeah. There was
no, it didn't fall asleep.
There was a couple of times in the first half where I turned to the guy behind me and said, I'm just going to have a little nap, mate. Wake me up if anything happens. Because it was very drab for periods of it. But, I mean, I went in very nervous for a couple of reasons. I mean, mainly because Newcastle's run had been really good up until then. And they had proved to get some attacking returns and very tidy. So I was nervous. In the end, it was a very comfortable win for us. They had their moments, Newcastle, but nothing spectacular. The early goal helped us because Newcastle's game plan generally is keep it tight, and then try and nick something. The early goal really opened it up, and we played well. It's strange the way we set up. You have Snodgrass, a left footer on the right, and Anderson, a right footer on the left. I'm not sure.
To cross it in for the big man Chicharito.
Exactly. And Chicharito, I think someone was telling me, and I don't know if this stat's true, Chicharito's never scored a goal from outside the box.
That's correct, yeah.
In his life. He's a poacher. He needs to play off someone, and that wasn't happening. But I guess Anderson wants to play on the left, and Snoddy's happy playing on the right. But I feel like they would be a little bit more natural either side.
Do you think? I think the two players who both like to
cutting in a little
they
bit.
both like to see the picture of the game. A
Yeah.
little bit like what I said with Pogba likes playing the left of the midfield free so you can see the picture.
Yeah.
Anderson, I wouldn't see if Anderson played on the right, I wouldn't see him bombing on and trying to take people on the outside.
No.
He's not that sort of player.
No.
Snodgrass could take a touch and whip it in, I think. But again, I think it's more natural seeing the game, whereas Antonio is like a push and run, right?
Yeah.
So
I don't think it was. It was sad for Antonio to have been dropped based on his recent performances, but Lanzini coming back into the middle was quite different. I didn't think he had a very good first half. Lanzini, there was a number of times I was like, I haven't seen that guy on the pitch or on the ball hardly. He made a couple of good runs.
He's a baller though, isn't he?
Class when he gets the ball, he rarely gives it away. And Chicharito sadly was lost up front, but I was very happy with the performance. I think a lot of people have been asking me about Declan Rice week in, week out, as he keeps getting better and better. And if I can sum Declan Rice up in 2 words: Patrick Vieira. He reminds me of Patrick Vieira.
Up, mate.
Long legs, gets around the pitch. You don't think he's as good as that?
No, I don't.
I think he is. He is Patrick Vieira.
And Patrick Vieira was a magnificent footballer.
Yeah.
Calm down.
Declan Rice is 20. It's the way that he gets about the pitch, long legs, tackles, plays it neatly, simply, and then every now and then has a bit of an attacking surge. Someone from the top 6 or someone with a lot of money is going to want to buy him regardless.
Have you seen the clip of Rice watching the goal back after the game?
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Very funny.
Really good.
So I was talking to my brother on Sunday, and he said, like, next season, have another good season, someone's going to want to buy him. I'm like, look, I don't think that the jury's out on whether or not he is a good enough player. It's confirmed. He's good enough, Premier League standard, top 6 player, in my opinion. So if you're going to buy him, you might as well buy him now, because what's going to happen in a season? He's just going to get another 20, 30, 40, 50 million more expensive.
Well, hopefully, Rice will stay at West Ham for at least a few years
but let's be honest,
and play. I don't want
when you get to that
on a
kind of
serious,
money,
completely off FPL. I think he looks like a great talent, and if he goes to Man City, I don't know if he's going to play.
No, I agree with you on
and
that.
Man City need a player in that position.
100%. But he for me, you may disagree, but when I see him, I think Patrick Vieira. That's the mould of player that he is.
I think that's funny.
You can. But if you ask me, who does he remind me of as a player? Patrick Vieira. Whether or not he's as good as, you can't say that, because Patrick Vieira has had his career. Declan Rice is into his first full season. But if you want to know what type of player he is, that's the mould of player. Gets around the pitch and an all-round kind of game. But I was very happy with his performance across the board. Newcastle, on the other hand, the one that, if you were picking from FPL, would be Rondon. I thought he was a threat.
He was, yeah.
Great free kick in the second half. Very strong and physical. I thought he was a good player. He played well. Most of Newcastle's attacking joy came down their right-hand side and our left, which is why when Cresswell went off and Arthur Masuaku came on, I had head in my hands for a while. But Newcastle, from an attacking point of view, you'd be looking at their right-hand side.
Where was Canadian sprinter Ben Johnson?
Who knows? But I'd rather have Ben Johnson. He wasn't on the bench.
Oh, was he not?
So
No.
I'd rather have him than Masuaku's fine in an attacking sense. But the thing is, you could tell that Noble and Rice would have to fill in a bit at left back, or make sure that they were not too far away.
What did you just
happy with
briefly? I agree with you what you say about Rondon. What did you think of Almiron?
He was quiet.
Yeah.
I think it was more that we did a number, like having two holding midfielders in Noble and Rice, they can just jump on him very quickly. So very quiet, disappointing. But I could say that for the whole Newcastle side. And disappointed because I like Newcastle. I think the fans are very loyal up there. I love the Geordies. Had a bit of decent banter with a couple on the way down to the ground. So it was a disappointment. It's a long way to come on a Sunday evening to have that performance, sadly. Newcastle, so no one I'm looking at from a Newcastle point of view.
The only other side note, not a lot of people will have him, but Mankio's played the last two rather than Yedlin.
Sure.
That would be concerning. It's interesting you say obviously they had a bit of joy down the right. You would have thought with Yedlin's pace, they might have used that a bit, but I don't know. I don't know if there's a reason why Mankio's got back in. I would have thought Yedlin, with his pace, is far more suited to that wing-back position. But not a disaster for Newcastle. I think they're out of danger. No.
If Arnie can get in the starting lineup, which I'm hoping this weekend will go back to business as usual.
What do we think is going on now?
I don't know. I think it's Pellegrini being loyal to Chicha, showing a little bit of loyalty to Chicha.
But he wasn't early in the season, because as soon as Arnautovic got fit early in the season, he went straight in the team.
Yeah. I don't know fully, but he brings him on. The crowd respond with standing ovation every time he comes on, or maybe Chicha coming off. There's no issue there. There's no issue in Arnie's effort and attitude. He's still a miserable, moody git.
Absolutely.
The way he plays.
For those three hitting in 31, I mean, for those building to it, we can't buy him.
No.
But for those three hitting in 31, you want to put him in, don't you, at home time?
100%. Yeah, I mean...
You can't, at the minute.
No. And if we play with Lanzini and Felipe... I mean, Lanzini perked up a lot when Arnie was on the pitch. You could tell he had someone to play off. I think Arnie as captain material in that game week is very, very tempting, but I just don't know if he'll start. I don't know what's going on there.
Agreed.
But I reckon he's been on the bench for the last few, so I do think that now he will come back on. He's fit, there's no question, and he is the one. Anderson as well, I feel disappointed because I've bought Anderson myself.
Yeah, Sam.
He played well. I think the thing with Anderson that people don't give him credit for.
He was better than the Fulham game.
He does. But he gives the defenders an out ball quite often, and using his trickery and skills, he will win a free kick and take the pressure off. So more often than not, when the defence are coming away, they'll find him, and he's got the trickery to win a foul or break away. And that work that he does is unsung work, but he's very good at that. So I was happy with his performance attacking.
Three things just briefly to close on West Ham.
Yes.
One, Anderson, this live TV is bollocks.
Yeah,
that's fucking
now.
shit.
Forget
that crap.
Yeah.
Two, I think he's playing within himself.
Felipe?
I think not so much with the ball, but there are times where I think I'm watching the build-up, and obviously because he's in your team, you're looking for him a bit, and I'm thinking, get in the box, mate, or get round the box, and he's watching things from a distance. If he's on it, it's fine, but I think he's playing within himself. I
agree with you
I
on
think
that.
he's like, is it really happening?
There are patches where he perks up, you know?
That said, I know a lot of people are frustrated with him at the moment. I am as well. I'm absolutely not selling him.
No,
Wouldn't
me neither.
even come into my thoughts.
If Arnie starts, Lanzini, Anderson, and Arnautovic as a front three with whoever he wants to play on the other side, I would be worried for Huddersfield because they just have that energy. And the other thing with Anderson is that, and I know it's hard to judge when you're on TV, but the second half when we play towards the Bobby Moore stand, he always seems to play better in the second half than the first half. It towards the home fans, which is interesting. But
Cardiff away, Huddersfield at home. No. All right, yeah, he's out of form, but the fixtures are still there, aren't they?
Yeah, 100%. Arnie starts in those fixtures, very different team. Very different team.
I agree.
The only other thing on West Ham that we need to sort out is we seem to have been given instruction by Pellegrini not to shoot from outside the box. So a number of opportunities where people are in shooting positions and they just don't seem to want to pull the trigger. And the likes of Lanzini, Snoddy and Anderson have got a boot on them. So maybe I don't know if it's coming from Pellegrini, but we don't like shooting from outside the box. But there you go. It's
Stop whinging.
Always West Ham. To be honest, I feel like the foundations are starting to get there for a decent team.
Talking of foundations for a decent team, let's talk Leicester.
I listened to this game on the radio as opposed to watch it. I was painting the spare room yesterday.
I was going to say painting the Spurs room.
No, the spare room. And disappointing for Leicester. I mean, again, they had their period. They played well.
They played all right.
They did. And that's not the first time we're saying that
I
this season.
thought Watford played all right as well. I quite enjoyed the game.
Decent. It was interesting to listen to. It felt like it was ebbing and flowing one way and the other. Everyone had their patch of 10 minutes and it went the other way.
It started really badly, Leicester. But they got to a stage where they were like dominating and not threatening, and then Vardy scored a terrific and very typical Jamie Vardy goal.
Yeah.
And from there, it looked like they would possibly go on and win it. Like Watford, good sides. Because of the fixtures, you're not looking at them at the moment. I don't think if you've got Delafeo and Holibas, for example, I mean it's interesting what you do in terms of whether you hold or
City,
not.
United, and Arsenal are 3 of the next 4.
They go to City this week. They've got the blank, and then the first of possibly just a single in 32 is Man United. So I think you're probably coming off, aren't you? But if you've got Ben Foster and you've got the cover for 31, you might think differently. On Leicester.
Just on Watford, I mean, post 33, if they have a game in 33, their remaining home games: Fulham, Wolves, West Ham, Southampton, and those I think Watford being the big physical team, I think they can bully sides like Southampton, Fulham, Wolves, and West Ham. So for home fixtures, 4 of their last 6 or 4 of their last 8, worth considering post for the 34 wild carders. Whether it's Deeney or Gray or even Pereira, whoever it may
particularly
be.
if they have
those home games are very good fixtures.
I think for 34 wildcarders, if they have a 35 double, you'll be looking at them. I think Foster, even Deeney, Delafeo, they'll all come into thoughts because nicely priced if you can have them for a double, a nice run of fixtures like that. It wouldn't come into my thoughts personally till then.
Not in the short term for sure. Jamie Vardy was in my thoughts for the game week 31. And he still is, as potentially Maddison instead of Brooks for Sane was one that I may even have made this week, but in the end I'm glad I didn't. Maddison looked good and creative.
What, from you painting the room?
Well, it sounded good. He put some through balls through. I did see the highlights as well, match of the day, but Vardy's still the one for me. He's just a little expensive. I don't know.
Important to say, obviously, come off injured. I understand it was more of an after effects of the challenge with Foster in the first half, so he should be okay for the weekend. I'd still, if I was going to invest in Leicester, Chilwell, Pereira. I've got Pereira. Again, it's frustrating, but Fulham at home this week and then available 31 and 33. I'm not coming off for the sake of it. The second fixture, importantly for Leicester, is worth saying, is Huddersfield away in 33. So, no, holding on. But Pereira, Chilwell, particularly if this is going to be a solid move to the back three, are worth looking at. The annoying one, I think, and the one that really tempts a lot of people, and you'll either get lucky or you won't, is Harvey Barnes. Really does look a threatening player. Good price in the game. I don't know if he's ever going to take a fucking chance, though.
And, his return's minimal at the moment. So, but you'd think he'd start.
Well, he's in the team at the moment. I think that's suspect. If them playing three at the back, it means one of probably Barnes or Gray misses out at the moment. But Barnes has got the shirt. I don't think he played badly. I mean, particularly in the first half, he was a threat.
If you, just a quick point on Leicester, because it's been all over the BBC and stuff, right? Chris Sutton saying that Celtic's reserve team is a bigger team to play for than Leicester. But we talked about it in the last show about why Rodgers has moved from Celtic to Leicester. And I think he's done the right thing.
We're going to lose a lot of Scottish listeners, is what I think.
Well, I just think he's done the right thing.
Celtic,
the reason
Celtic Football Club are massive.
Agreed.
Huge.
Celtic are bigger than Leicester.
Oh, yeah.
But as a job, it's more of a challenge managing Leicester than it is Celtic. The Premier League is a much more competitive league, and he's come to a squad. He's going to have more money at Leicester than he would have at Celtic. So Celtic are inevitably going to win 2 or 3
Probably
of the domestic
getting paid
trophies.
a lot more as well, by
Correct.
the way.
And the thing with the Leicester squad is there is a bunch of young talent in there, which if you were coming in as a manager with Maddison, Barnes, Gray, you'd think, actually, you know what, Chilwell, Maguire.
Yeah,
there's
they're probably
a real good nucleus.
If they spend it properly and replace the Morgans, etc., properly, they've got good players there. Like, indeed, he's a good player. We've just mentioned all the potential rotations in the forward area. We don't mention people like Iheanacho, who I think's a bit of a moody prick, but he might get a turn out of him in time, possibly. So, yeah, I think Leicester have got big potential. In terms of comparing the size of Leicester City and Glasgow Celtic, there is
Celtic are a bigger
comparison.
Club, but I feel like the job at Leicester's a better job right now.
Well, any job in the Premier League's better than that league, unfortunately.
Agreed. Okay, cool. What are your thoughts on Celtic and Rangers or anyone from just bringing them into the British
If they
League?
ever came here, I think this would be controversial. I think if you dumped Celtic in the Premier League right now, what would they do next season? Bearing in mind I haven't got any money to spend, really.
Yeah.
I think they would finish about 15th or 16th.
I think it's less of a interesting where would they finish. They'd be all right. But I think it's more, should we just do it? Because...
No. Who's interested? And what does it do for Scottish football? You bring Celtic and Rangers, it actually kills Scottish football.
Quite possibly. The thing I do like about Scottish football is the amount of Scottish players in even the big two in Rangers and Celtic and Hearts and Aberdeen. There is a lot of Scottish players playing in their league as a percentage compared to ours, and you would get a lot more foreigners into the team, which would stifle Scottish football. You're right.
I think if Celtic came here, in terms of size of club and potential of what they could be, they make me think a little bit like Newcastle. Like, if the money was there, they're going to fill the ground every week. They've got plenty of... I mean, Celtic's support globally, in terms of Britain, is probably only topped by United and Liverpool. Sure. In terms of global support, bigger than Arsenal, bigger than Spurs, bigger than Chelsea and City. So the potential there globally would be massive, but it would take them a long time. If they could sustain for 10 odd years, they could be massive if they spent the money. But then we've looked at Newcastle and thought the same for 15 years. So
it just goes to show how competitive and tough it actually is. Fulham 1, Chelsea 2. Your boy Higuain returning, but could have returned more.
Oh, massively.
But he does look good, and he's shoot on sight type striker. I'm a little jealous that you own him.
His movement is exceptional for a fat guy.
Someone had to say it. Someone had to say it, and you did.
He missed the chance after about 2 minutes, and I thought it's going to be one of these weeks.
5 games into his Premier League career, he scored 3 goals.
Against Huddersfield and Fulham.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. But in a Chelsea side that I think are getting better and better slowly.
I think most teams building towards 31 will want one of Hazard or Higuain, and I think...
I might end up with neither. This is not looking good. Now
still going to start with Leroy Sané.
Now we know why I'm 728k.
I think Higuain. He's the differential as well. I kind of regretted not doing it for the midweek fixtures, even though he didn't return against Spurs. But it was all about the captaincy cover for me, and how pleased I am considering how few captains did return at the weekend. And I mean, Rico made one brilliant save, which would have been his second. He could have had a hat-trick easily by half-time. Fulham are rank defensively, so don't read too much into it. But I think you can go in. I think you're building towards 31. If you don't have Higuain, and presuming a lot of people are thinking either double Liverpool defensive or adding Mane to Salah, for example, or Salah to Mane, however you're doing it, most of probably now look like they're probably going to go without Firmino, unless he was to tear it up this weekend, might change some minds. And therefore, you're potentially going into 31 with 3 very budget strikers. You're looking at something like Barnes, King, maybe Vardy, possibly.
Yeah.
I think you'll feel better having Higuain out there.
A lot of people will leave Rashford owners, who's at 33, 34%, will be benching Rashford because of the value.
Yeah, so will I.
So they'll be going in with 2 strikers, not even 3. Yeah.
I'll probably be looking at the moment Higuain plus one of the Bournemouth lads. Or if I knew Arnautovic would play. The reason I don't want to go, I've got Anderson and Fabianski. The reason I don't want to go a third West Ham particularly, despite the Huddersfield fixture, is because I don't want to walk into 33 and then have 3 West Ham players away to Chelsea.
Sure.
So for those free hit, if I was free hitting on 31, I would definitely go 3 West Ham.
Final, anyone from Fulham catch your eye? Not really.
What, to invest in for FPL? Zero.
No.
Zero.
Look, Babel has been returning. Another assist as a budget option, but they're dead and buried now, aren't they, really, Fulham?
Yeah, great. I mean, they're gone, aren't they? What I would say is, second half, they really did give Chelsea a game. They tried. But before Chelsea kind of allowed Fulham back into the game a little bit, Chelsea should have had the game long finished. There were plenty of times that they over-egged the pass or something. No, I wouldn't be looking at
the problem is that in the fixtures-wise, Liverpool and City in 31
You said they're only going to get points at home, and look at the home fixtures.
Liverpool, City, Everton, and then by that point you're into game week 36, at which point they will probably be relegated.
Do you think they'll get anything at Leicester this weekend? Rodgers' first
home game,
proper game in charge.
And I think Leicester will have their tails up. I think they'll struggle.
No, Fulham and Huddersfield unfortunately are gone.
And the final game of the weekend was the Merseyside derby. Was anyone surprised by this result at the end of it?
Possibly, yeah. I loved the game. I loved it. I thought it was a great watch. I know there weren't that many chances in the game, but it felt really edgy. You could feel the atmosphere coming through from Goodison.
The tension was interesting, and I think credit goes to Everton, right, for holding Liverpool at the end of the day.
Oh, the second half, they had a couple of chances. Liverpool here, if Salah takes a better chance, a better first touch twice, he scores twice,
but that's the case
game, right?
in a lot of games. The problem for Liverpool now is that they're second.
If you look at Liverpool's remaining games, though, so we kind of looked sort of 4 or 5 weeks ago and went United away, and although it's Everton and they've been poor, it's still the derby, right? They're a point behind, and Liverpool have got a better run in. I don't think it's a disaster, that result. I know they're now behind. I really don't think it's a disaster. I think the hardest game they've got left on paper is possibly the last one at home to Wolves. Southampton away because they're in trouble. But just run through Liverpool's fixtures.
Burnley at home, Fulham away, and then they're playing Spurs at home, Southampton away, Chelsea at home, Cardiff away, Huddersfield at home, Newcastle away, and Wolves at home. You'd expect them to win most of those games.
I'd fancy them to win a lot.
You would, right? You'd think so, but the worry for Liverpool...
But 4 draws in 6, I know.
The worry for Liverpool is that despite that period where they've been leading the league, the majority of pundits, in my opinion, have still been saying that City are still the favourites. City are still the favourites. City are still the favourites. And psychologically, now that they're second, they can just turn around and say, well, no one expected us to win anyway. Excuse me.
Cough up.
Yeah, that's the curse of downplaying Liverpool.
Something always comes back and gets you.
Psychologically, they can say, no one expected us to win.
Nah, my lot get the fucking Butler's tag all the time. They can have it as well.
You think they're bottling it?
No, I don't think they are. I think they've had 4 results which would be difficult because they've come in succession. But in isolation, all right, Leicester at home obviously should be winning. But West Ham away, Everton away, United away, it could be draws. The fact of the matter is really, other than 4 draws, they'd have been better off winning 2 and losing 2, right? That becomes a problem. I think the closer it gets...
When you look at City just nicking the 1-0s, even though they played better than 1-0, they still managed to get over the line.
Yes, and it's what champions do, right?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Liverpool have not been in this position to have even won a cup in recent years to know what it's like once you get. But I think fixtures-wise, they're still in a great position. If you'd have offered any Liverpool fan 1 point behind with, 9 to go, is it?
We're now down to the last 9 games of the season.
They'd have been over the moon.
Got a double, what have you.
The home games against Spurs and Chelsea, I wouldn't see them having a problem. The intensity, as long as they're still in it, the intensity at Anfield would be probably too much for either side. So I think Liverpool are well capable of winning everything left.
Looking at City's fixtures, they're going to win pretty much all of their games as well. They do have a couple of tough ones, but you'd think Watford at home they'd win, especially considering Liverpool just battered Watford 5-0. So Watford away from home could be difficult. Fulham away, they're going to win. Cardiff at home, they're going to win. Palace away, they should win. Spurs at home will be tough, and Manchester United away. Manchester United away is the one that...
The United away game probably depends quite a lot on terms of what United's position is.
Sure,
might
FA
be
Cup,
really important. That will be an interesting atmosphere.
Burnley away,
because trust me, United fans would rather City won the league than Liverpool. I promise you.
Yeah, but you're not suggesting that United would ever roll over for City at all, so it's not going to happen.
But Manchild's waving. Was that an hour already? Fuck
he's
me.
pointing at his watch saying I need a new watch, or he's telling us that we've been talking for an hour. Luckily I got the time up on here, so I know where we're at, and that conveniently is the end of the games, with Everton 0, Liverpool 0. Any kind of takeaways from the games? I think we've been through all the players that are of interest.
We'll come back Thursday and have a bit more fun with this, and we'll look into more what the options are for the players. But we've covered quite a bit
from a transfers and strategy point of view. I feel like the next 2 or 3 days are going to be quite quiet. I don't think you're going to see people making drastic moves. You've got a couple of Champions League games. You're going to the Wall in Dortmund tomorrow. You are not going. But
I fucking wish I was.
My cousin's going, actually. I saw him on Saturday, and he's flying out in the morning and back in the evening.
West Ham as well?
Nah, he's one of the ones that tried to force me to be a Spurs fan.
Good lad.
And I rebelled. So he's going down to the Wall, as they put it. So that's interesting.
Brilliant.
Who's the Wednesday Champions League game? It's
United
PSG. So obviously United, people aren't looking at United players because of the blank necessarily, but people own quite a few.
Well, people planning to the doubles definitely will.
Yeah.
I think for those planning to the doubles, you need to. If it was me planning that way and I was going to free hit in 31, I'd be taking chance on investing in City and Chelsea personally.
Sure, but not till Thursday. On Thursday's pod, we'll be looking forward at planning into 30, 31, 32 and onwards. So do try and keep your transfers if you can, because we'll be coming back to you with more concrete advice. You never know what's going to happen with injuries, and we've seen injuries play quite a big part in stuff more recently.
And for those who like more of the chilled out laugh aspects of this podcast, we'll be doing a lot of Twitter cues.
Yeah, we'll do some Twitter cues, so stick them in there. Maybe we'll put a tweet out again.
Nah, just get onto the one I sent out Sunday night.
Yeah, we'll have a read through, but we'll be on 50 or 60 questions by then.
Be fun, won't it?
Yeah, it will be. We're trying. Just time is the issue. It's not the money. It's the time, mate.
It's too much to talk about.
It's always the way. And we'll recap on Last Man Standing. I wanted to give a shout out and a thank you to everybody that sponsored my marathon appeal. There's quite a few that have been coming through, so we'll do that on Thursday as well. But if you do want to find the link to sponsor me when I'm running the marathon for Haven House Children's Hospice, I'll tweet it again, as I probably will do regularly throughout. Other than that, I hope your game week was as good as his and not as bad as mine, because there's definitely a man-child sitting on my shoulder.
8 points, boy.
Do we think he's going to beat me?
Yes.
There we go.
No, I don't. He can't. You can't let it happen. You can't let it happen.
And on that bombshell, do share the podcast with your friends, family, FPL playing, any friends and any mini leagues and everything that you have. And ciao for now.
See you Thursday.
The Fantasy Football Show.